Well, welcome to this episode of Wealth Coherence. I like to invite people to think about you're also the screenwriter. Like you can put edits in, you can try new things. And I love the movie Groundhog Day for that because it's like he's got
Yeah.
this personality, he's got these certain gifts, right? He's very sardonic, he's really funny, he's got a good job and everything. And he has to live the same day over and over again. And he finally just starts trying new things.
Right.
He's oh, maybe I'll learn piano or maybe I'll start saving people's lives or he expands who he can be as a human being because he's given the exact same script every day until he changes it. And it's like it's
Right.
not too different than our lives, right?
No,
Like
it's not.
who do I want to choose to be in my script today? And it gives a lot of freedom when you think about it that way.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Yeah. I think this made me when you were talking, this has made me think of this and I think it might be helpful. There's a way that Gurdjieff explained sort of the whole totality. Let's see if I can remember it properly. But if you think of a horse and a carriage, I know we like to talk about horses, but
Of
you
course.
think about the carriage is the human, the physical body, right? It's just the wood. It's just a physical body. It does, moves physically. It doesn't have
Mhm.
anything other than that. The driver is the mind. The driver is telling the horse where to go. It says, I want you to go over here. I want you to go over there. The horse is the emotions. So
Mhm.
if you think about this for a minute, the mind can tell the horse, I want to go here. But if emotionally you feel differently, you're not going anywhere. That horse gets to decide where you're going to go. But then there's the owner who owns all of it, and they're just the observer. They're watching the whole thing go on. They're watching the mind say, we should be doing this. We should get up and go exercise. And they're watching the body saying, no, I'm going to sit here all day. And the body's always going to win, right? And they're just sort of watching what's happening. And I don't know what made me think of it when you were talking about that, but it was a loose association. But I thought this, I love
Mhm.
thinking about it this way because it goes back to this idea of coherence, that you can tell yourself all you want, I need to behave this way, or I should do this, or I should feel this way, or I should think that, or I shouldn't have done this, or whatever. But if your horse, if your emotional world is identified and stuck in incoherence, you're not going anywhere. The mind can't do that. It's got
Yeah.
to get into the body. And I guess this just goes back to something that you said earlier. And I do think, focusing on the area of your body and breathing in and out of it is great. But if that's too triggering for people, because sometimes it is, we're so used to not feeling our emotions and not experiencing them. And sometimes they can feel, I don't know, for me anyway, they can feel so dark, or the anxiety can feel so overwhelming. It took me a long time to be able to just even dip into it, particularly like in the middle of the night. When people wake up in the middle of the night, that's when this can be like the sensation in your body, the feeling can be so overwhelming, that people don't know what to do with it. And the idea of going into it or breathing into it is like, oh, I just want to be anywhere but it. So another thing that you can try is just putting your attention anywhere else on your body. And, you could try, when we talk about positive intelligence, they do what's called PQ reps. And they have, because I have some people who like the heart focused breathing it's too triggering for them. They can't go there. Other people it works phenomenal with. But some people it's better to say, try and hear the furthest away sound that you can hear. Just focus on that
Mhm.
and put all
Yeah.
your attention there, and then bring it to the closest sound you can hear, right? And do these other things. And what you're doing in each way is you're pulling your attention off of what is sucking you in and making you incoherent in that moment.
Yeah, what's great about that is you're still in a place of choice and you're choosing something that's going to be life affirming towards your aim rather than choosing the sugar or the alcohol or the weed or, scrolling or whatever, getting lost in something else. And the PQ reps are amazing. So if you're not familiar with positive intelligence, there's a lot of great research behind it. And there's using our senses to get fully present in the moment by really focusing on something we're seeing and getting further and further away, hearing. Um, you can do it with touch. Oh my gosh, just like that idea of can I feel the ridges of my fingerprint on my finger, like that depth of it. And it just completely calms the nervous system if you're really in that crazed flight or flight. So
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Sometimes that's exactly what's needed. And I think too, I love that analogy of the horse. And the other thing I'll share in terms of that, because I work with horses and people with horses. And if you are with a horse, if you're riding a horse, driving a horse with a carriage, whatever it might be, and all you can do is focus on where you don't want to go, the horse will go right there.
Yeah.
So it's another piece to what you were just
So
describing
cool.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like really stick with your aim and where
Yeah.
do you want to be heading? And then just keep course correcting. Like, oh, that choice, not so much. And then I would also say, really give yourself a chance to celebrate and give yourself a pat on the back. I mean, I have a huge addiction to sugar
Me too.
and I choose not to eat it except very special occasions and very deliberately and intentionally. And I go to a grocery store where I have to pass a C's Candies, and they have this dark chocolate covered marzipan that I absolutely love. And it doesn't matter what mood I'm in. It doesn't matter how great things are going or anything. As soon as I see the seeds, my body immediately goes, oh, just one of those would be great. And, they give them to you for free. And it's not going to hurt anything if you just have one. And
Right.
it's hilarious. It's just like, oh, there you are again. Like for me,
Yeah.
it's this like little sugar gremlin that just comes up. And it's like, oh, yeah, of course. And every time I go and I don't go into the C's Candies and I don't get that free chocolate, it's such a little victory in my life. And
Yeah.
it's just building that muscle of choosing my aim more than listening to those voices that are not going to, and also freeing myself from the berating that happens afterwards. Oh, how could you have done that? You said you weren't going to do, it's like, there's so much freedom in
There's
not,
so much
in
freedom.
making those choices not
So
to.
much freedom, but I want to offer people freedom even when we make the choice that we don't like,
Yes.
because that happens a lot of the time. And I was
Oh,
speaking with someone
totally.
recently, and they were talking about an addiction to weed, actually, and they had been off it for like like a month, successfully for a month. They were feeling really good about themselves, and they had made a decision there, and they were telling me the decision, like, okay, I don't want weed to have control over my life, so I'm going to smoke it just once a month at this time, and then that's going to be it, and I want to prove to myself that I don't need it, and I'm going to take control of this thing. And we had this whole conversation around it, and I said, well, let's just unpack this for a moment, because and in their mind they're thinking, this is how I'm going to take control over it. This is how it's going to, it'll be on my terms.
Mhm.
But there was two issues with that. One is that if they did it like that, then that meant they were good in their mind. And if they
Mhm.
didn't, it meant they were bad in their mind. So it was a setup from the very beginning. The second, and I already went over why that's a setup, right? Like, this is not the goal. We have our personality parts. They're going to do what they do. We don't
Yeah.
always get control over them, right? We're human. So the second part, though, is that I pointed out, like, look at how hard your mind is working right now. Your mind has got a whole plan. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and this is how we're going to do. And this is all just the mind chatter.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with the being. It has nothing to do with, coherent state, of where you're moving through life intuitively. The being body doesn't think. You don't think. When you're in coherence, when you drop in, right? And we do a heart math exercise or something like that, I say we go from overthinking to inner knowing. You just know. You don't have to think
Mhm.
about what you're going to do. You just know. And so the mind really tricks us a lot of the times. We spend a lot of time planning and thinking and plotting to try and get around all of our parts. And that exercise in and of itself is really a rabbit hole, right? Like, if you want to think about that addiction, it's like, well, if you just drop into your inner knowing, you'll know whether or not to smoke weed that day. There's no left brain necessary to be involved, right? All it wants to do is trap you and try and make you good or bad, because that's the only way it can think, is good or bad, right or wrong.
Mhm.
So I just offered that because that's freedom to me. Like, I can make any choice, but I don't have to hate myself. Like, I can just be. And yes, when I choose aim and I get aim, that and I finally, break free and I have that different relationship with myself, that is freedom in both cases.
Yeah. And I think it's so brilliant that we're going to end with this, because I think if people can walk away with anything, it's just that we can have that freedom from the mind
Yeah.
by not putting a lot of stock in it. And I really loved what you said earlier on around, we only need to really think and analyze something for about 30 minutes a day. And then it just really has you take a look at, wait, how much time have I been spending thinking about something that's like not really towards my aim at all? And
Yeah.
that's brilliant. Like, yeah, wait, look at how much time you've just spent thinking about that. That's really great. So thank you so much, Abby. Where can people find you? What is it that you're up to that would be really helpful for them to know?
Yeah. Well, you can find me at my website, abby@abbyhaverman.com. You can always find me at the Intuition Incubator, where we're helping people go from overthinking to inner knowing in a broad spectrum of areas, leadership and everything from leadership to plant medicine. We're covering really a lot of things
Wow.
in turn, all following under like intuition and channeling and how to know what's really going on inside you. And then speaking on stages, that's what I love to do, is speaking to audiences, leaders who are stuck. They know what they need to know, but things aren't running the way that they should. So helping people really lead their teams, lead their staff, lead their families from a place that's from the inside out
Yeah.
instead of the outside in.
Wow. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's just thrilling to get to have this conversation with you.
It was so fun. Thanks for having me.